So, Cricbuzz in Conversation with someone I've enormously enjoyed talking to over the years. And I don't know if I've told you, Nas, this, but the first time I saw your name coming up in an England team, no reason whatsoever, I said, oh, I need to follow this man's career. You know how it is. You must have done that with a few people when you were younger as well. So I followed your career all the way through, and I've enjoyed working with you. So hope it's all well where you are.
Yeah, Sao Kwema, Harsha.
The Chennai boy. Right? Saukema, the Chennai boy. I was going to bring that up actually, and it's interesting. Nas, I don't know if you remember, during the Champions League, we did an event in Chennai, and we had all these elderly gentlemen who'd come across not to see Nasser Hussain, captain of England, but who'd come to see Joe Hussein's son. And I particularly remember this woman who got up and said, you know, I remember you running around our colony. I lived there, so for those people, there's still a great sense of belonging. They want to own you in a sense.
Yeah, that was one of the great evenings of my life, really, because I'd obviously grown up the first 6 years at the Chepauk. You know, my dad was inside, usually at the bar, holding up the bar with a whiskey or something, and I was outside playing with my brothers on the outfield and sister. To go back, and they made myself and my dad honorary members. I could see the sort of pride in my dad. And then the next day I went and got out for one run or something. So my dad flew all the way from Essex to Madras, and I made one run for him. But that was a really nice gesture from the MCC at Chepauk that evening.
You did all right, actually, Nes. One of the things I wanted to talk to you someday was this deep self-deprecating streak in you, very, very English, but even more so in you. I mean, if I heard you talk cricket, I'd imagine you played about 12 tests for an average of 7.
You're not far off. You have to know. You have to know your limitations. You have to know how good or bad you were. But also, I sort of lived my life on. I played the game to be as good as I could be. That's all you can do. You can't try, and it's hard enough having your own career, let alone worry about what other people are doing, other people's careers. There's no point comparing myself to Tendulkar or whoever, Ponting of my era. Was I as good a player as I could have been? 1400s, averaging 37? Yeah. Was I, playing 96 test matches? Yeah. Captaining England? Probably better than I ever thought I'd ever do. So, at the end of your career, you just want to say, was that as good as I could have been? And that's the only recommendation I'd give to anyone, actually. Make sure when you end and you hang up your boots, you say, I couldn't have done any better than that.
Do you have favorite captains in the world game at the moment? Do you think because you look at two things. You look at people who are protectors of our game, who are really carrying on the baton for the next generation as leaders, but also people who are tactically astute.
There's so many. Captaincy is about ticking so many different boxes. I mean, my best white ball captain would be Owen Morgan, not just because he won the World Cup, but calm, when everyone is chaos. White ball cricket is chaos. Batsmen now smashing everyone, everywhere. You need that calm head. So my favourite white ball and best white ball captain would be Morgan. In red ball cricket, there are so many boxes being ticked. I mean, the way Kohli has driven India, their fitness and the change in culture and their winning mentality is all down to Kohli. But if you're asking me who's my favourite, and for one of the reasons you give that of ambassadors for the game, Kane Williamson is just, with the resources New Zealand have, their record at home, as India have just found out, England found out, their record at home is phenomenal. Their record as a nation playing cricket is phenomenal. The image of Kane when he got told after the World Cup final, you're the player of the tournament, and he turned to the lady from the ICC and went, who, me? That sort of self-deprecating, you sure me, player of the tournament? I think Kane Williamson, the way he handles himself, he's a great ambassador for our game.
Have you been a fan of that, of having a different white ball captain, a different red ball captain? Would you almost say, look, Virat Kohli, you've got so much on your head. You can't relax for a minute. You're on a flight and there's 20 people around you. You're on your way home and there's 50 people behind you. Captain in test match cricket, leave Rohit to do the white ball cricket. Or do you think that can actually create rifts within the side, purely from team dynamics?
It depends on the characters there. Virat is such an imposing character and such all-encompassing. It'd be very difficult for him to handle, and he wouldn't want to hand anything over. Whereas in England, we have Morgan and Root, two very laid back.
Yeah, but Morgan doesn't play Test match cricket, so that helps.
I think more important would be actually coaching. I think coaching, there's so much now that coaches have to do, whether you should have a split coach, that they have so much on their plate, just to give it a sort of fresh perspective. Like Trevor Bayliss, for example, he cracked white ball cricket for England. He didn't really crack test match cricket. So maybe 2 different coaches would be a way I would go.
The prima donnas, the superstars, your captain of, say, Kevin Peterson, desperately wants to do well, but we in India understood him well. Maybe just a desperate feeling to be loved, to belong. Someone like a Ben Stokes today, who maybe needs to be a little careful of what he's doing later in the evening. How would you handle people like those? Because we have players like those in India too. And that's what the IPL is doing, is it's making young people very famous, very rich, very quickly. So how would you have handled, say, a Peterson, a Stokes, or maybe someone like that when you were playing?
Very difficult. That's a good question again, because they have to, in the end, buy into what the team is trying to achieve. But you've got to remember, cricket is a team game, but it's also an individual game. When you're 20 for 2, who do you want to send out the door? The goody two-shoes, who's doing all the right things for the team and is a lovely lad, boy or girl? Or do you want to send out Kevin Peterson or whoever, someone with a bit of fight and a bit of character? David Gower, the maverick, that may not do things. Generally in life, Harsha, the great people don't buy into what the team are doing, whether it be Lara, Warne, Botham, Peterson. The list is endless of people who do things different. That's what make them great sportsmen, great cricketers. So you do have to give them a little bit of leeway. I mean, what a book I've got back here somewhere is Mike Brearley's Art of Captaincy. And Brearley's handling of Botham, he just let him think that he was in charge, he was doing things. You do what you want, Beefy. And Botham, every time now, even the commentary box, if Mike Brearley's around, Botham will stand up and nod his head and say morning Breers or whatever. It's just a case of you have to give your superstars just a little bit of leeway, but that when you want them to be part of the team, they must buy into the team as well.
Yeah, because we are seeing that at the moment. We've got this outstanding young talent in Prithvi Shaw, for example. I mean, you look at him bat and you say, this kid was born to bat, and you go, wow. And the next thing you know, he's done something that the young people shouldn't be doing. Or we've got Rishabh Pant, for example. His behavior is not an issue, but there's so much attention he's got so early in life that every time he's going out to bat, he realizes he's going to be talked about, and he's still so desperately young. So I guess we've got similar players, yeah. I mean, you've seen Rishabh Pant play, you've seen them play, yeah.
But aren't you amazed, Harsha, it hasn't happened before? What's amazed me about India is the way that their superstars have, over the years, handled themselves. Whether it be Sachin or Rahul or Saurav or Virat or whatever, the pressures on their shoulders. I'm amazed that, there hasn't been some kind of incident or whatever. So it is almost like part of being successful. Excuse me, you get things thrown at you, you get various deals your way, and it's just part of growing up. Everyone makes mistakes, Ash. Everyone makes mistakes. You just try and learn from them. You have hopefully good guidance in the dressing room. Senior players are absolutely vital. Have good senior players and coaching staff around you. Understand that you make mistakes and you move on.
I guess the coach's got to be a big brother sometimes. So you kick up the backside sometimes, a pat on the back sometimes. I think it's a bigger issue in football, isn't it, in England at the moment? Similar with the money they make in the IPL. You support a difficult team to support, I know.
Yeah, a great team in Arsenal. It's difficult supporting them, definitely, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I repeat.
A Paul Pogba, for example. Here's a Paul Pogba. Goes out to play for France. He's a magnificent player. He's part of a team that wins them the World Cup. He turns out at Manchester United and you think, where?
I repeat, you're not trying to have a nice team. You're trying to have a successful team. And that's why I always give Sourav Ganguly credit. Before Sourav, India were a nice team. Great players, Azhar, etc., Javigal Srinath. They had some fantastic players, right? But before Sourav, they were a nice team. Very sort of, good morning, Mr. Hussain, how are you doing? A bit like you, Harsha, to be honest. Very nice, pleasant. Ganguly made them a tough team. Whether it be Harbhajan or Yuvraj or whoever, he made them into waiting for the toss for Ganguly. Toss at 10:30 in England, it's 10:31. Where's Ganguly?
He made Isn't that you as well, did he?
Oh,
he did that to you as well.
Everyone, yeah. Steve wore me, everyone. So, you know, the shirt on the Lord's balcony, etc. That's what I mean. You don't want 11 nice guys. You want a tough team. You want a bit of feisty character in that team.
In all fairness, I mean, he was once asked who are the best captains he played against, and he mentioned War and Hussain. So maybe that was in return for keeping you waiting. You've seen some great all-rounders. I'm ending with getting your views on key players. You saw both of them, played a bit with Flintoff. Now watch Stokes. They fill stands with the players like those.
Absolutely, they are box office. So I mean, it goes back to what I said about, you know, don't have a knock of people's characters, and they are different off the field. Beefy Freddie and Ben Stokes off the field, you know, they do things differently. If you're asking me who's better, I don't like comparing eras. No. The greatest England, up until this moment, the greatest England cricketer, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is Ian Botham. What things Beefy did and heroics he did. Ben Stokes could end up, the way he's going, Ben Stokes could end up in Beefy's category.
Well, he does things that he's not supposed to do, isn't it? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that.
But also 81, I never thought I'd see 81 Headingley, Botham and Willis. You know, that has always in England been the unbelievable turnaround in a game of cricket. And Ben Stokes doing it at Headingley last summer was just one individual just managing to turn around a game of cricket was just phenomenal.
2 or 3 players today, you get up in the morning and say, wow, I'm going to watch these guys play.
I'm going to name, I mean, there are a lot. And you know, Joe.
There will always be. There will always be lots, but the personal preference.
If I can name 3 Indians, you know, because I'm on with you, I would say, and 2 of them are very obvious in Virat Kohli. If there's a run chase on wherever I am in the world, and I'll be broadcasting somewhere else, West Indies or something, and word will come that India chasing 300, and I'll be looking Kohli 60 not out, Kohli 70 not out, and it's almost like setting your alarm clock. Kohli 130 not out, India win. The other 2 are just on. I grew up. My favourite cricketer was David Gower growing up. So aesthetically, who is the most pleasing on the eye? I would say KL Rahul is just unbelievable. How easy he makes batting look at times. How far he can hit a ball with sort of minimal effort. And the one for me is Rohit. You know, I'm so pleased, Rohit. I sent a tweet out maybe when India were in South Africa, and I think they left out Rohit. And I said, if Rohit's not a test match player, I'm watching a different game of cricket, because Rohit Sharma should be able to crack test match cricket. And the way Rohit's gone recently, long may that continue, because there's not been many batsmen that make batting look as easy as Rohit Sharma. And you go and ask other cricketers around the world about Rohit Sharma, and they'll go, boy, can he bat.
Do you worry a day will come when a little kid will walk up to you like a kid walked up to the great Richie Beno and said, Mr. Beno, did you ever play cricket?
I suppose that would be a good day, actually. You know, something I admire of some broadcasters I work with is that, you know, I'll give you an example. Ian Ward, who I work with, you know Wardy well.
Yeah.
He's become so good at his job that people forget that Ian Ward played test match cricket for England. So I think, it might say something about my cricket when someone comes up and says, did you ever actually play? But if you actually get decent at your next job, that they forget you were an actual player, I think that should be a compliment. But I'll tell you what, the power of television is incredible, Harsha. You'll know this, is that I probably get recognised more now for being on TV, doing the work we do, broadcasting, than ever as a cricketer. So the power of television and being on telly as a commentator or broadcaster is incredible, I have to be honest.
We started off talking about you as a broadcaster. Do you see changes in trends, in changes in commentary, for example? The old era where there was silence most of the time, the old Beno style, but also the old English style where there was silence all the time. Dan Maskell at Wimbledon, for example, silence. I noticed that Australia changed first. We in India are almost encouraged to have a soundtrack running, but England's changing too. There's a lot more conversation around. There's lots more gadgets around. Is that a conscious ploy at Sky and all of you younger generation English broadcasters?
I think you'll know. I mean, you've been around for about 800 years or whatever, Harsha. So
yeah, I was waiting for that to come.
A definite change in broadcasting as far as the gadgets and explaining to the viewer. The viewer now wants to know not only what's going on, but how, and explain, and masterclasses and analysis. And because of the technology and the improvement of technology, you know, some of the stuff from Sky, some of the stuff from Australia, whatever, the analysis has been absolutely outstanding. The masterclasses to listen to Warne, how he used to bowl, etc. As far as broadcast, you'll know again that traveling the world doing world tournaments, and you have different styles in different parts of the world. I still think in England, they want less is more. They don't want you to talk too much, unless it's a 2020 game where they want a lot of chat. But in India, you're right. I'll come to India and commentate, and you put your microphone down, and you're on the bench.
Never get it back.
You'll either never get it back, or you'll have someone in your ear saying, "We don't pay you not to speak." Pick up your microphone and speak, otherwise you can go all the way back to Chelmsford. So there are different parts of the world want different commentary styles.
And do you like? I mean, someone like you had to almost end one career and start another career. And I've seen this with a lot of very good player broadcasters, that they look upon it as a start of a second career. It's inconceivable that you can give it the same that you did to your playing career, but you give it 70, 75%. And I've seen you t-shirt, round neck t-shirt, shorts, going around shooting these documentaries all over. You enjoy doing that too?
Absolutely. I'd probably not enjoy it more, because there's nothing better than the live thrill of being in a game, World Cup final, Headingley, whatever. But I enjoy the documentaries, doing one with Peterson. I did one in Mumbai, cricket in Mumbai. You know, I'd stayed at all those hotels on Marine Drive and driven to or walked to the stadium, etc., or in a bus surrounded by security. And I'd gone past all those Maidans and looked at it and thought, isn't that quaint, and isn't that pretty, and isn't that so Indian, and this is why Indian cricket is so great. And never stopped off and walked through them and spoken to people. So to do that documentary, to do the Peterson one, it gives us a lot of fun. But your initial question, again, I've now been commentating, broadcasting more than I was a player, longer, as an England player anyway. And you're absolutely, if you're going into another job, I don't see it as I used to be a cricketer. This is our job now, and do it as well as you can be. Don't just live off the fact that you used to play cricket a long time ago.
Virat Kohli said you're his favorite commentator.
Sorry, Harsha, didn't hear that. The internet's going down.
You want me to say it again and again, don't you? Virat Kohli said you're his favorite commentator. What is it? Why do you think you've been successful? Is it an honesty that you bring to the box? Is it that you just tell it as it is? You're not worried about what people will think about what you say? You sometimes have players coming up to you and say, you know, Nas, you were one of us once. Why are you saying that?
That Harsha is for other people to say, to be honest. I just, again, like my cricket, I just try and do it as well as I can. The one thing I try, and this is a dodgy subject with you, one thing I try is to be impartial. You know, I'm not a cheerleader for England. You know, it's an impartiality there. There are two sides playing against each other, and you're not there to go England, England, England. You know, I get great pleasure when I come off and I get half the world saying, why are you so England biased? And I get the other half saying, why are you always criticising England or whatever? Then you know you're doing okay, because you're not there to be a cheerleader for the country that you play cricket for.
Have you ever in your year had a producer saying, cut the cliches, Nas? I've heard that 20 times before. These commentary cliches.
Yeah, the one we have at Sky, there's a lot of them, you know, in the air, gone, bowled him, you know, we all shout it because we run out of things to say. I think the one we banned at Sky, we had a group WhatsApp going, and there it is. Because the poor people in edit suites trying to do the highlights, every time there was 100, someone used to shout, and there it is, you know, bowl, you know, and there it is, and another 50, and there it is, another 50 for Virat Kohli. There it is, another 100 for Joe Root. So we were banned from saying, and there it is. And it's amazing how many highlights I watch from previous eras where that is said. So we are banned at Sky from saying, and there it is, which does put you under pressure. There's people at the back of the box sort of shouting, and there it is, trying to make you say it just before Joe Root goes to another Test 100 or something.
It was great fun chatting with you, Nasser. When you finish, I mean, they ask that of Benno and the others. The day you walk off the cricket ground, do you want to be remembered as captain of England? Do you want to be remembered as the best broadcaster, or one of the best broadcasters going around? I mean, I know there's a lot of time for that to happen, but
yeah, I don't know. I have nothing beats being captain of England, Harsha.
I can imagine.
Been Chennai boy, dad, everything my dad went through, taking me to England, and when you get rung up and say, "Will you be captain of England?" Walking out of Lords and the bloke on the tannoy saying, "The next," and leading out England is Nasser Hussain, the Barmy Army singing Nasser Hussain's Barmy Army or whatever. I know we lost a lot, but being captain of England was the best job in the world.
Great. You've got a fantastic second innings. Not too many people have the chance of doing a second innings. So I'll let you go to being teacher, dad teacher. But thanks for your time this morning, Nas. Thank you very much.
Always good talking to you, mate.
Pleasure. Take care.